very few. We are still waiting for. Usually, the responsible gambling panel is the last one, and now kindly Zoltan put it immediately after the lunch, which is a good time because people are a little bit more relaxed. I can see your faces, you're smiling. It's okay. I would like to invite Shimon Vince, the first panelist, and online we do have Ovidiu Iosif from Bucharest in Romania. Hello, Ovidiu.
Hello, Dan. Hello, everybody.
Well, let's jump in with a few words of introduction of our panelists. First of all, Ovidiu, who is executive director of an association entirely dedicated to responsible gambling. The name of the association is exactly like this. In Romanian, it's called Joc Responsabil, and in English, it's responsible gambling. Ovidiu is with the association, is running the business day by day since 1.5 years. It was challenging for him. I know him. We are working together, collaborate, because I'm also the vice president of this Responsible Gambling Association. And Ovidiu, I would like to kindly ask you to say a few words about you. And next, very quickly, what is all about the Responsible Gambling Association?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Hear and see.
First of all, I'm sorry not being able to be together with you, but I have the privilege of the big brother. I see everybody from the remote camera. So I promise next time to be together with you, because it's much better when you can mingle with the people and discuss and have a lot of fruitful conversations. As Dan said, I joined this organization almost 1.5 years, and this was for me the first contact with the gambling industry, coming from totally outside, from totally different angles. And I was impressed about the people that I was meeting here in the team, in the board of our organization. And of course, the quality of and involvement of some of our operators, because practically without support of operators, we cannot run our programs. Situation in Romania is that, as such, we are having sponsorship only from private operator or state operator, not yet from the state, but work is ongoing also for the state to be involved in funding activities such as ours. So when I was starting that journey, I tried to work in a few domains. First of all, of course, to understand the operations and the challenging of being able to raise funds. But also I tried to understand the foundation of such an let's say, organization, such a foundation, an NGO, how we call it. Why we are here, why we exist, why operators are willing to support us, and what is responsible gambling in the end. Because if you speak with everybody, at least here in Romania, everybody is very proud about responsibility it's acting with. And all operators are responsible, they are having a responsible gambling strategy. But then when you discuss with them about let's find a way to sponsor our programs, you see from the big cohort only a few stand up and they really are interested and they are putting a substantial amount of money into our pockets. From that angle, I come with a concept. I'm a former engineer, so you have to draw a little to understand. If there are different levels of responsible gambling, and I have a few slides. Two of them will be, let's say, about the stage framework of our environment, and a few of them about our program. So if you allow me to share the screen, I think that the host should help me.
Just a second. I can
to
see
give
the
me permission for sharing.
Before, or between.
Or how you want to run? Yeah, please.
Yes. I know that you have three main directions, three main programs
Yes.
in association. Could you please, in 2 words, name them? And
yes.
Yes, please.
So practically we have three mature programs, and the fourth one that we are trying to operationalize this year. We are acting both in, let's say, prevention, because it's very important to prevent, and also in the treatment. I want to talk about ourselves like I rather be a smoke detector than a fire worker, because you know that extreme cases in our industry can hurt the image and also the people that are affected. So that's why it's a lot of emphasis in also preventing.
And it's far less expensive to prevent, to educate, than to treat.
Definitely. So coming back to that question, the program that is for prevention is dedicated to teenagers, to adulthood, people that are around the age of 18 years, when legally they are allowed to perform gambling. And we call it, in Romanian, it's called antrenat de majorat. In English, it's something like training for adulthood. We are trying to educate them in order to have the pool of concepts able to prevent them taking bad decisions at early stages in their life. This is for prevention. And from treatment, for those that unfortunately went beyond the entertainment level and enter into addiction, we try to help them with 2 ways. Now we are developing the third one, as I mentioned in the beginning. It's not easy to cure them. It's a disease in the end. It's not yet, let's say, recognized as such, but probably there are steps in this direction because it needs to be treated by professionals. So in one program, which is called Responsible Gambling, the same name as our association, we are providing up to 5 psychological sessions free of charge to those asking our support. We have a call center, a free number, and whomever is trying to get support, they get in touch with our call center, and after that, they are scheduled to perform those 5 meetings in one of our 6 cabinets. So far, we have cabinets in 5 locations in Romania, 2 in Bucharest. Another program in the treatment, we call it counseling 24/7. And the difference between the two, it's like when you go to the hospital and you have emergency room, when you have an accident, you go to an emergency, whenever you have the problem, and this is the counseling. 24/7, a psychologist is available on a chat to discuss with people that are having problems, to temper them, to calm them, and to lower the stress, and later on to divert to the treatment of the 5 meetings. The 5 meetings are like, we want to make an appointment to a doctor next week. But 24/7, it's a hotline, it's a rapid intervention, and I have some data to see all of you at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. There are a lot of people willing to be tempered down and to discuss with
Ovidiu, yes. Please allow me to interrupt. So 24/7, basically, somebody who's having a problem or thinking that he might go into a problem, or somebody from his entourage, a family member, or somebody, a friend, can go on the website, on the dedicated website, and immediately a chat pop-up will show up asking how can we help him. And on the other side, it's a trained psychologist which starts a session, an online session live with the player or with the family. Yes, please continue, and very shortly, because I would like also to introduce our next panelist and say a few words, and afterwards I will return to your.
Okay, but I think that I can stop by now, introduce the second panelist, and then I will start with my few slides.
Excellent. In the meantime, the technical problem was solved, yes? Okay, good.
Yes.
Shimon Vincent. He leads the Safer Gambling and Sustainability program of Casino Guru, and he currently focuses on global self-exclusion initiatives, helping vulnerable players to restrict their access to gambling. So it's, if I'm as a player, I presume everybody knows what how self-exclusion is working. This is what he is doing. And the third line, the third objective is educate online casino customer support representatives to assist players effectively. Simon, the floor is yours. Shimon.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dan, for introduction. Thank you for having me. You've mentioned the two major projects that I'm working on. First one is the Global Self-Exclusion Initiative, and the second one is the Casino Guru Academy, in which we are trying to provide free courses to the employers of online casinos in order to have a sort of more fair approach towards their customers, to increase their satisfaction, but to still remain their profitability as a business. And I just wanted to say a few words about Casino Guru. So we are a biggest database of online casinos. That's the first place. Naturally, we also have an affiliate site, which is providing revenue in order to run this database. The most interesting part about it is that we are truly a data-driven company. So what we do is that we scan internet and we are looking for online brands which are there, and then we are using methodologies and our own algorithms how to measure them. We are providing a reputation rating to each of that casino, and it consists from the data mainly from scanning the terms and conditions. So we are doing the job for the players. We are reading those terms and we are pointing out any risks for them and setting up the rating accordingly. Then we are also calculating the estimated revenue, so we would know at least approximately what are the chances the online casino will be able to pay out winnings in case of a big win. And then we are also scanning the internet for any kind of complaints and what the resolution of those complaints were. We are also running our own complaint section. And recently, to this rating, we have added kind of a responsible gambling rating because we have collected data about responsible gambling tools, in other words, self-limiting tools of every online casino which we have in our database. And according to availability of those tools, and I'm talking about the deposit limits, I'm talking about the withdrawal limits, I'm talking about the time spent or the loss limits, and also we have there what are the options for self-exclusion in those specific online casinos, whether it is by email, chat, or by just simple setting in an account. So thanks to this, now we are able to provide some kind of a rating also in this area. And I have also prepared a few statistics because I was kind of told to prepare some kind of an overview about regulation in the Baltics area and the matter of responsible gambling. And I have to say that I'm no expert for regulation. What I can do is I can provide you an overview, thanks to our database, on how the regulation is reflected directly on the market. So I have a few statistics, which I hope I will not bore you with. And I have it divided for Lithuania, Latvia and Estonia. I have to say that we are updating our database once a year, so a few statistics from it can be outdated. I have briefly discussed it with Andrius, and he corrected my calculations. But for example, for Lithuania, in our database, we have 4 brands of online casinos which are providing this to online players. And from those self-limiting tools, just to point out a few, the self-exclusion in account is available only at 2 of those. Compared with Latvia, it's for 5. In Latvia we have 10 brands, so it's 50%. And compared with Estonia, which comes with 21 brands from our database, it's the self-exclusion in 10 online casinos as well. So we are talking roughly about 50%. What is the most frequent self-remitting tool, which is dominating in all of those regions, is the deposit limit, which reaches 90% or 100 in every one in these jurisdictions.
Excuse me, is it a mandatory system, or it's in the regulation, or the operators are somehow self-committed to this instrument?
That's a really good question, and the answer is that I don't know, but it can be said from, or it can be deducted from how it is used. So, for example, for those deposit limit, I would say that they are at least recommended, because almost every online casino has it. But on the other hand, it's kind of a standard. If I am compared to all the brands or the operators in our database, with what is dominating is the deposit limit. Almost everyone has some kind of a deposit limit. But I have an example for this actually, and it comes from Romania, because I was also running a check on Romania, and there is 29 brands offering online casino games, and from those 28 brands, the deposit limit have 28 brands. So it suggests that it is required by the law, and almost everybody is obeying it, and this applies also for the self-exclusion in account, which counts for 26 from those 28.
In Romania, the deposit limit is not mandatory, but the self-exclusion system should be implemented by all online operators. Not for the land-based, but for the online. In respect of the land-based, I would ask you if you have any information about no land-based at all.
Sorry, no land-based. I mean, we are only focusing on online market. It's the main field of our business. So, unfortunately.
I will come to Ovidiu with the question about land-based in Romania, but please go on.
That's kind of it. I also have a few other mentions that the withdrawals. There is a one important part when it comes to self-exclusion, and that is the possibility to withdraw your money when you self-excluded yourself, because this could represent a really high showstopper for people to get to a point when they will self-exclude themselves. And this is where all of the jurisdictions, I mean all of the operators and the implementation in their own operations are lacking, because for each of these jurisdictions it counts only about 20% or so. So it is not.
Which offer the possibility to withdraw the money.
Possibility to
when they self-exclude.
But it can be biased by the fact that for some jurisdictions, and it applies for UK especially, that when the person self-excludes itself, all the withdrawals, I mean all the deposit has to be paid out. It's a rule. So if you compare the UK operators, they do not have the possibility to withdraw money because there is no need for it. They will just give you all the deposits once you self-exclude yourself.
If I'm a player and I would like to self-exclude myself, I understood from our discussion preparing the panel that there, in all 3 countries there is a national self-exclusion system, which is very interesting. It's held by the regulator or by the government. Who's taking care of this system?
It depends. There is a very good study which was commissioned by the European Betting and Gaming Association by Professor Margaret Karen, if I'm not wrong, and it is making an overview about the self-exclusion possibilities in all European countries. So I know that for all the Baltic states there is a national self-exclusion system. Each of them has a dedicated website under which the players can self-exclude. These are all the same. I'm not really sure if it is operated by the regulator or the government. It depends. And what differs very much are the details of provisions of self-exclusion. But it is very normal. It differs all around the European Union states and also other jurisdictions around the world. And it's the details about the implementation of those detailed processes. For example, what are the possibilities for you to set times to self-exclude? Will it be 6 months, 12 months, or 18 months? Then what are the possibilities for revocability? what are the possibilities or what are the requirements for those operators to do after the self-exclusion? Do they just need to give you one simple link to some problem gambling help organization, or should they provide you with more comprehensive information about this? This is very diverse among the industry.
In Romania, we do have a self-exclusion system for online, as I said, but each operator has its own system, unfortunately. Is there any possibility, for example, when somebody wants to self-exclude himself for a period of 6 months, let's say, and after 6 months, just he jumps in and he is able to play, or is he going through a process of assessing if he is somehow established his equilibrium, yes, and he went through a process of becoming more conscious, more responsible.
This again differs. It depends. I mean, it's very different from one jurisdiction to another, because every policymakers are putting their own, let's call it, a background into creating this. It can come from a culture, it can come from the political background, it can also from the influential background, because we just cannot deny this. But what is a standard is to at least have some kind of a cool-off period before the person is allowed to gamble again. But when I was doing the research on those details of provisions, I found one jurisdiction, which I will not mention, which were claiming that they have a nationwide, I mean the operator-wide self-exclusion system, but it worked in a way that you have just logged in and you have set your deposit limit to 0. That was the self-exclusion for them. And after 1 hour, you could set it to whatever you want again. So, I mean, apparently, this is not something that could work for a person who has some kind of a problem with gambling.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Shimon. Let's go back to Ovidiu. Ovidiu, now the technical problems are solved. Please proceed with a very, very short presentation of...
Yes. Can you see my slides now?
Yes, we can see them.
Okay. So, as I mentioned before, when it comes to responsibility, everybody is responsible, but in different levels. So, for instance, many operators are just stuck to the legal responsibility, what is imposed to them by law. But this, for me, it's like crossing the street on a green light of a traffic light. It's responsibility or it's legality. You are just...
Ovidiu, may I interrupt you for a second? I don't know if everybody can see the small fonts. In the left side, it's legal responsibility, the smaller size, and in the right side, it's assumed responsibility. As you can see, yes, and there are the programs of the Responsible Gambling Association, so it can be easily deducted that the assumed responsibility is at least twice as big as the legal responsibility. Please,
Yeah, so in that area we are operating. So practically, what I call assumed responsibility, it's like, for instance, you see a person crippled on the street and you will try to help him. It's not imposed by law, it's just because you want to support them. And here we have our program, it's prevention of education. During the gambling as such, it's the operator that either by its own staff educated to support and to guide the people that are going beyond the limit of entertainment, or for the online operator, it's much easier to implement the artificial intelligence system. They can identify and guide those people. And if they are identified or they are coming to us, we are providing them counseling and therapy. So we are having programs in this domain, prevention education, and here in the counseling and therapy. And having answering the question of legal responsibility, I was thinking about what and why an operator is trying to support us. What is beyond that? Because in the end, you see almost all industries are having the question of sustainability. How long I can activate in this industry to make sure that my, let's say, shareholders, my investors are happy, and my business is running because I'm clearing off all the barriers of my future existence. And then, if sustainability is also applied to the gambling industry, I believe there are four pillars. This doesn't belong to me. I found them for some special consultancy companies. What might be the four pillars of sustainability in gambling industry? First is to protect the customer and to drive safer gambling improvements. Building a strong culture of empowerment and improvement to engage colleagues. As I said, it's very important, for instance, for the staff of a landline operator to be able to cope and to interact and to guide people that are having gambling addiction. Of course, making a positive contribution to the community and operating with integrity. If it's forbidden to allow people below 18 years age to gamble, then you should stick with this one, not to try to just make him at a certain hour. So those are the sustainability pillars in the gambling industry, and a lot of operators are adhering to them because this is good for them and it's good for the investors and it's good for the industry and society as large. So those are, let's say, the foundation or the framework for our activity. And now, if I'm coming to little details of our programs, here I have some evolutions. The Responsible Gambling Program is the program through which we are offering up to 5 free of charge psychological sessions, and we have a call center. With the blue line, we have seen also the seasonality, what's impacted by, of course, restriction of the pandemic.
The blue line video is the number of phone calls, yes?
Yeah, the blue line is the number of total calls. Of course, people are calling our call center for different reasons. Some of them even for being self-excluded, but of course it's not in our scope and we put them in contact with the operators. Of those people, with this red line, I don't know if you see red or another color, it's the number of the people that are willing to join a psychologist for the 5 sessions. But you know, those people are sometimes pushed by their wives or sometimes are changing the mind. In the end, only a portion of them are really coming and following the 5 meetings, which is here with the green line. So for instance, last year, we managed to help around 650 people around the country for having a little understanding of why they are compulsive behavior, because that's the psychological fundament for them. It's a compulsive behavior they cannot control, and mostly this is connected with some trauma they had in the past or the entourage they are evolving in.
Ovidiu, may I interrupt you for a second? This figure, 653, maybe is telling almost nothing about the envergure, how the system is effective. I know that there are studies in Romania that indicate that around 0.8, correct me if I'm wrong, of the total population above 18 has problem gambling problems. And this number is expressed in percentage of the people who could be in need of help. How much does it represent?
If I'm looking at the last study that was done a few years ago, I believe that they concluded that in the range of 100,000 people might be affected by addiction. So it's like a potential, it's like the highest number. And if you look in our case, we are attracting around 600 of them. So from that one, I draw conclusion that practically 100,000 is too much. It's just a potential. Not all the people are having addiction.
Anyway, the figure is very low report compared with the statistics. Yes. what do you do as an association in order to make your programs known to those in need or those who seek help?
Yes, so we are having a lot of data about the people asking support. Age, gender, geographical location. And we notice there are some regions of the country where the proportion of the total population in that region compared with the proportion of people that are asking our support, it's in a big discrepancy. And probably in that region, it's a matter of the culture. People are not willing to join a psychologist because from the communist time, they still believe that a psychologist is discussing only with the crazy people. It's a shame for them to be engaged in such, let's say, support. Some of them are trying to travel to a different town in order, especially if they are from small towns where the psychologists are known, they prefer to have a meeting with somebody from outside to keep it this like a low profile. In cities, because we cannot cover all the cities with our resources, in cities where we do not have a local presence, and there are people that are requiring a local presence, they come to us, they understand that we can offer them only via online, via Zoom, and then they give up. They say, okay, in that case, I will prefer to find by payment local support. So practically, it's about us going in areas where we have little traction, to have more education through local media in the population. And we notice whenever we have went to a local county and we present in media 2-3 publications, our programs and our numbers, for 2-3 months, there is a 3 times traction for our program, and after that goes down to the initial level. So it's also
my advice based on what you are saying would be make these articles more frequent, yes, in order to keep the numbers up at a stable level. Yes, do you also advertise on the operators' websites, on their responsible gambling pages? I mean the operators which are actively supporting the association, or operators who are members of the associations who established the Responsible Gambling Association. Are there any links there?
Yes, coming back first to your first suggestion, of course, that it's the way to make more noise. But then I'm also a financial manager of this organization, and I know that if I put more money in communication, I'll have more traction for our programs, which I need to support financially. So it's also a balance here. Definitely, all the operators that are in our ecosystem, I think that 60% of them are part of our 3 founder members, and some of them are supporting. They are inserting on their sites our logo is linked to our site. And also in their land-based locations, they have posters with our numbers. So it's a 190 point. I don't have with me here the graph, but we are also via call center asking people where they learn about us.
Ovidio, sorry, I have to interrupt you because
yes.
We are slowly running out of time. And there are so many things that I would like to cover, too many.
I'm sorry, before you will continue, I just wanted to clarify something, and sorry if I wasn't paying attention at the beginning, but at your first slide or video, it's for you, you showed the assumed responsibility. It means that it goes above the legal requirements. It's something which is being done beyond the requirements.
Yes, it's beyond.
Like a self-regulation.
Exactly.
And how did you vote in the operators to do that?
Ask Ovidio.
I cannot see him, so I'm looking for a better advice. How did you vote in the operators to implement it, to do it, as it is something beyond the requirements?
Ovidio, could you just interrupt for a second the slides to see you speaking, because it's a little bit more entertaining.
Yeah. So the verb referring to the operator,
How did you get them on board to do something?
okay.
How do you convince me to give you my money in order to?
Actually,
I can't do
you
this.
know, I tried to segment them in 4 areas, but in the end there are only 2. And for instance, I give you an example. I think that you know Kindred Group that we started last year having a sponsorship from them. It was a journey for me to reach the decision makers because we have no contacts. But in the moment when we talk about our programs, they show us about what they are doing in responsibility with intelligence, artificial intelligence. And the conclusion of the decision maker was, you don't need to justify your programs. It's our duty to sponsor them. This is at one extreme. But then we have other people that are using our logo, our symbols and link to our pages without paying anything. Not too many don't want to spend money, but there are also these guys.
We keep them secret.
Yeah.
For the moment, at least for the
that's why I try to distinguish between the legal responsibility and assumed responsibility, to popularize the concept and for people to understand that once they are just forbidden 18 years old and promoting self-exclusion, this is not it. This is not all of it. But some people are having, you know, inside their values, inside their DNA, it's connected with their sustainability. They are listed on stock exchanges. They want to show and they believe inside. Other people are on the journey to maturity.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Shimon,
It's inspiring.
what do you do, or what are you supposed to do with the old database regarding the self-exclusion system? How can you use it in order to make responsible gambling more effective?
Thank you for that question. I mean, it was one of the reasons why we started to gather this data, and it's connected with the Global Self-Exclusion Initiative. The main challenge about the Global Self-Exclusion Initiative is that there will be probably never any global regulatory authority which would enforce it. I mean, we've talked about the necessity or the need to have some kind of solution for those who self-exclude on a national level and then play at the offshore providers. So there is a very long journey ahead of us to achieve something like that. We need to make it in a way that we will convince the stakeholders in the industry, the operators, to join in and to just create an effective scheme. So we are thinking what we can do with our presence, with the data we have. So what we found out was to use this data to provide help for those who have multiple accounts from multiple jurisdictions, and when the time comes for them, the need to self-exclude. Because this is the very, very common journey for players, like it was mentioned at the previous panel, for the players who have accounts at different jurisdictions, because they just hunt bonuses, they want promotions, they want to try other brands and their provisions or so. So when the time comes, when they realize that their gambling has taken a problematic way, it is very difficult for them just build this barrier and self-exclude, because there are so many brands, the marketing options, I mean the marketing promotions are coming to your emails and so. So we are starting to build a assistance tool for these players, in which these players will be able to use our database and to use the data about the possibilities for self-exclusion in each of that specific online casino we have. So how the process will look like, and we want to release it sometime at the end of, or at the beginning of the Q3 this year, is that the person comes to a dedicated website, the person will be able to search through the keywords of the brands which they have account with, and then the person will find the information, what are the options for self-exclusion. Whether you can self-exclude by email, by account settings, or by any other mean, then you will be able to create a list of all of those brands, and you will be able, on your own, by the information and by the guidance provided on the website, one by one, self-exclude yourself from those brands to in a way that at first you will run a request, so you will either send an email or to just have it selected in your account. Then some time will have to pass until the operator will approve it, and once he confirms it, the person can back to that list of those brands and select that it is already confirmed and the person is self-excluded.
A very short question: is this system free for the players?
Yes,
Free of charge? And the second question, which is not really a question, it's more an observation: the GDPR standards. They should be probably, and they are respected.
That's the I mean, the brilliant part about it. It was figured out by one of my colleagues, and the best thing about this is that we will be not collecting any kind of data. We will not be doing that for the players. We will just give them a helping hand. We will explain to them how it works with the self-exclusion, because this is one of the problems that people do not really understand how self-exclusion works. When I am self-excluded, what time need to pass until I have no access to that website? What can I do? Will I still receive some kind of a marketing promotion? So we will educate those people about it. We will give them means how to do it. We will make it easier for them, but we will also explain to them that they have to do it on their own. And they have to use their own responsibility in order to self-exclude and stay in that position.
Excellent. Ovidiu, I think we all have a lot of things to learn from Shimon and from his system. Very, very quickly, before I kindly ask people to ask questions to our panelists. Very quickly, what is all about the groups, the therapy groups you mentioned at the beginning? Is something like anonymous alcoholics?
Yes, actually it's the same concept. And it's used very much in West countries, which are having a little more experience than us. And this actually, at the end of the last year, we ran a trial. We wanted to understand if such a way of helping people it's, let's say, appropriate for our culture. Because practically you are putting together some people that they don't know each other, and they are sharing some experiences, having some confidentiality, probably in the beginning. And the conclusion of the trial is that there are a lot of people willing to participate in those groups. Other people are not meant for such groups. They want to have individual approach. But as long as there is, let's say, a request for having those groups, we will go for them. And in many cases, people that are stuck with their problem in their corner, in their room, not willing to discuss with anyone else, we managed to bring them silently into a group to listen to other people with the same problem with him or her. And then little by little to see how they are engaging, they are opening up the video, they are participating, and they understand that practically he's not alone. He might have recoveries, he might have drops, and having this community, they are very supportive. And in all the groups, we try to have one or two people more, let's say, going through a full cycle of recovery, and to act like a small group, but all the time it's a psychologist controlling the way the group is going in the direction. So we would like to implement at a full scale those groups, and we notice that there are people, because it's not easy to cure forever such a disease.
Let me ask you a question regarding all these programs. The budget of the association for last year was roughly
200,000, 220,000. This year I believe that I might end up, because I have more support, in the range of 250,000 euro.
What would you do if I will give you 1 million euros now? The first thing, yes, the first thing.
I think that we bring all the team together for celebrating.
Invite everybody to Las Vegas. Yeah, excellent.
Actually, that
yes,
is 4 times more my budget. And roughly, I think I have a rule of thumb. I will put around 40% in prevention. I have another idea.
To grow the prevention program, which is already in place.
We go to the high school, we reach only 2,000 people last year because we don't have scalability. We are depending on a highly professional, but his time is limited. So we want to complement with a more scalable type of program.
So 40% for prevention, 60%?
And 50% for treatment. Going with all these lead programs and adding groups, because sometimes you can move one person to one treatment to another one, and find the most suitable for him. So it's like 40-60. That's what I will. Or let's say.
What I'd like to
68 to let 2% for the beer.
Thank you. What I would like to point is that in Romania we do have an independent association which is doing responsible gambling only, and we do have associations. There are a few of them which are supporting this program. Shimon, one final question from my side to you. Are you happy with what you are doing?
Yes, I am. I mean, I'm in the industry for not even for 2 years. I was working in the events industry before, and it was kind of a. When I was, when I came to the interview, they didn't tell me that it's online gambling, so I figured it out afterwards. They said that it's about exciting global opportunities.
It was the same with me.
So afterwards, I kind of had doubts about it, but then when I was explained what we want to do and what is the vision for us to do, even though that it's a very hard thing and heavy lifting to do, I kind of jumped in, and it was the biggest motivation for me ever for a job to do something like that, because I believe that we are able to make a difference, and I'm not mean just our company, but the industry, and after every event that I attend, I am convinced about it more and more. I mean, there is a long journey in ahead of us in everything. I mean, consider responsible gambling, but I cannot really imagine to be doing a different focus in the gambling industry. I don't know. I mean, this is what fulfills me. So yes, this short answer is yes.
That's excellent. Thank you very much. Please, questions from the audience. 2 questions. Yes, please. The mic.
Yeah.
No.
Here's Andre from Tom. Hello.
You can speak loud.
Okay, so here's Andre from Tom Horn. I would like to ask Idol regarding the numbers we see here. Is it? Thank you. Hi. So here's Andre from Tom Horn. I would like to ask about the numbers you shared. You have there any split between like issues from online players and land-based, or it's mixture, or you have any kind of data related to this?
Yes, I do have, not in that slides, but starting 6 months ago, we implemented a call center, and then we are collecting via the CRM of the call center around 15 questions. One of them is the gender, another one is the preferred way of playing, other one is what type of game you want, and so on. And mixture of the online, retail, and mixed. Mixed, it's accounting for almost 45-50%, and then retail is a little more than online. So this is like having, if this is half and half, it's more like online half and retail half. But then we need to have something in mind. This is one program I discussed with you. We have another program, the counseling, the chat. But on the chat, we don't have a system to track their, let's say, behavior. It's just the perception of our psychologists. On the chat, it's more like people from online are coming. And I think it's also natural because chat is messaging, and probably people with digital behaviors expertise are more easy to go on chat. Whereas on the call center are people that are more mature, more land-based oriented, so that's why probably the number of the retail are much bigger comparing with the chat. But we can say that it's half and half.
That's what I thought. Thank you.
Thank you. Another question, please? Yes,
Samuel, affiliates. Few remarks, not so much about the panel, but I note not so much what has been said, but what is actually missing from this panel. And I wonder where are all the, why do we talk about responsible gambling so much in the industry instead of public health experts, for example, the regulator? I mean, the only reason why gambling should be so tightly regulated is that there are harmful consequences to the society, and the regulation should minimize that. But there is no regulator. There are no politicians that are responsible for making these policies. I've followed the Baltic gambling market for 5 years. I've never heard an intelligent argument about gambling regulation that would mention addiction. We don't talk about games, how to make them less addictive. We talk about limitations that temporarily limit players from spending money. But we don't really talk about how to treat addiction, or at what point it would be appropriate to treat addiction. And that's the government's job, it can't be the operator's job.
Yes, thank you. You are absolutely right. One of the reasons is that there is no data, evidence-based data, on what is harmful and what is less harmful, what measures could have a bigger impact or no impact. And I'm speaking now as a former chief of regulator in Romania. There is another question there afterwards. And it takes a lot of time and effort in order to build such a system evidence-based, because otherwise it makes no sense. It's like banning advertisement for good, nobody having any information if this is effective and how effective it could be. So this is also a suggestion for Zoltan to dedicate another big panel to these issues. You are absolutely right. Thank you very much. Please.
If I can add to the question, because I think it was a good question. But if we let all these items to be solved by governments, it will be late, it will be probably less effective, and I think that the industries should have responsibility to make the sustainability around. If you look at the Coca-Cola, they are having programs to collect the bottles. If you look at a lot of other companies, they are having programs to collect the used equipment or to limit the carbon footprint. So in many cases, industries, corporations are more agile, more dedicated to invest in community, because probably it's also better for their image. I think it's a lag of years between what company can do and what the government might do?
I think the best approach could be a collaboration between the industry and the authorities in order to get the best results, because the industry has the information, has the data, especially the online industry, and the government, they have no idea what should they do. Alexander, please, the final question.
Yes, good point then. Yeah, and I think just give some input from a gaming lab perspective into this topic, onto this topic. It's actually responsible gaming is already a big thing in the US markets, and our Gaming Labs International is also quite active there in consulting regulators already. Especially since also online sports betting and the merge with land-based terminals took place in the US and also Canadian markets. And GLI is here consulting also regulators. And in Europe, the situation is a little bit different. And in front of this event, I was even contacted by our colleagues in the US, if we could define a kind of responsible gaming and player registration combo standard based on the situation in Europe. And I say this is quite difficult because of the not existing combined responsibility. And when we're talking about responsible gaming, we are first talking about responsibility. We're already mentioning the regulators and the governments. Then we shift the responsibility to the industry. What I really realize when, as a lab, I'm talking to several people. I talk to the industry, I talk to the regulators, and other service providers and suppliers of the entire industry. And actually, everywhere we have the consensus, nobody wants to make people addictive. And everybody wants to contribute for responsible gaming. So at least I would say in the last 2 years, you could already recognize a step to this consensus instead of finger pointing to each other and blaming each other. Yeah, this is already a
big step ahead.
Exactly. And I think for the next step, what I recognize, if the government talks to industry only, they often feel not comfortable because they are already over-challenged with technical aspects, and then they're even more over-challenged with psychological and responsible gaming aspects, and actually, I wouldn't say they see the enemy in the industry. But we also need to understand from a regulatory perspective, it's like a big cake, this industry, that is regulated piece by piece. First, the focus was always on taxes and legal framework. Technically was not that interesting, or they were over-challenged with this. Now they continued with technical regulation in addition to finance and legal. And I think the next step must be the responsible gaming. And this is I think really a big topic. There is never the responsibility on one hand. It's in the society, and it affects all of us in the industry. And this is something where we really need to work together and cooperate. And also I, as a representative of the Gaming Lab and dealing with regulators, just can offer also our support, being something like the missing link between industry and regulator. And also I just can offer to come over with our experts from the US. We have already psychologists in this team and stuff like that, and stuff like that, and competences like that. And I think we should start maybe with a concept to be presented also to governments and to regulators to bring this on a good way, because in the US we recognize, and especially also Canada, gaming, you cannot even mention gambling there, because gambling is already more or less a banned word there. It has a bad smell.
It's evil.
Exactly. So they prefer already, and they see already gaming in the direction of entertainment, and entertainment shouldn't lead to addiction, or should have this under control.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's Alexander from GLI. Anybody who would like to find out more, they can contact. Thank you very much. Thank you, Vilnius. Thank you, Shimon. Thank you to you. And I will hand over to Zoltan, not before a big clap for our panelists.
Thank you. Without taking any spotlight away from the most interesting